This is utterly surreal, and that's why we do what we do. I hope you guys are having a good morning. Good morning, Randy, JH Camp, Hey Herb, Doji, Stardust. I know Eric in Northport's out there somewhere. Secret Agent Charlie, good to see you. So, I look like I'm on the moon. That's the nature of this hair. That's the nature of the lighting. This is great. This is why it's supposed to be a little absurd. It shouldn't just be, the greatest show. It should be the greatest show. All right, let's dig in a little bit on this. Right now, we have a special guest coming up in 2 minutes. It is Friday. It is October 17th. We're going to talk about momentum. We're going to get the runner at 9 o'clock, and it is VWAP day, right? Because it's third Friday. We have lots of options expiring. We have a lot of activity. We have the banking sector to get to. Again, why do you join us? Well, I've been talking about 9:30 being the entry point. Futures traders, you should be paying attention to this. If you've never traded futures before, you should be up at 7 o'clock on a day like today. Look at the way that the banks are bouncing back a little bit today. Very critical to take advantage of this. We're seeing a little bit of movement in the ES. We're seeing movement around the third, fourth standard deviation. That's why in about 2 minutes, we're going to have a very special guest to talk about the futures market. I'm going to tell you right now, before we get to that at 8:50, our readings are a little bit broken. The data set is a little screwy because regional banks had bounced back so heavily last week that now that they had that big downturn yesterday, they're still up. A lot of banks are still up on the month. They still look a little random. Our reading number was actually above expectations, but momentum on the S&P 500 is effectively trading in a yellow environment. We've seen the FAZ, which is the inverse banking ETF, absolutely rock the last couple of days. Big move on the FAZ. We're paying very close attention to this because, again, it is not the traditional FANG stocks that are getting beaten up right now. It is in the regional banking space. And obviously, I've been talking about this for the better part of a week, week and a half. Concerns about the reserve levels, concerns about what expectations are on loans. This is not a new story in any capacity. It is just one of those days where some random Wall Street analyst raises the red flag, raises the alarm, and everybody follows with them. But a little bit of a bounce back this morning on the KRE, which is the regional banking ETF, after a dismal day yesterday. Huge move down on the regional banks over their core concerns regarding loan quality. It's 8:50. Let's bring in our special guest. He likes to make prank phone call. It's Tony Ragu. How you doing today?
How's it going, man?
I'm good.
I
What are you up to, man? Because this has got to be a day that you have got to be excited about when you have a big move down, like we saw yesterday. A lot of this volatility, a lot of this chop. What are you doing from 7 o'clock to 9:30 each day?
well, it is 5:50 in the morning here. So I'm up at 4 o'clock every morning, putting the pre-market playbook together to get it out. But yeah, looking at, obviously, and we had Trump this morning on the wires about a meeting, and that set it off. So the volatility is not going anywhere. We've got a VIX that was 25 handle this morning. It's 23. It's backed off just a little bit. That's going to keep us in, a lot of vol. What I'm trying to tell my traders is do not chase this market, right? There's going to be move after move after move. We saw it yesterday. Um, and there's no reason, especially on a Friday, to go chasing this thing around like a cat to a laser pointer because it will kind of force you to do that. But
Sure.
you had something on the screen earlier, the FAZ. We
Yep.
used to call that the Phasmobile. I don't know if you guys remember that, but I haven't seen that symbol in a long, long time. Um,
Again, it's a very critical symbol because it screams the stress and the collateral quality in the financial system. Obviously, there is a lot of concern right now in the regional banking space. Reserves are under pressure. But one of the things that's not moving in a very negative way is the mags. So the banks are getting beaten up, but the Magnificent Seven are still holding above these key moving averages. How do you differentiate, that equity world versus the banks? I view them as completely separate things.
Yeah, you honestly look, you have to have tunnel vision,
Hmm.
because if you have too many things affecting decision-making process, you're going to be, it's paralysis in the analysis. So what I try to teach traders is focus on our chart. That is the chart that we study every single day. We only have a couple levels, depending on where you are in the, in my strategy, if you will. A lot of traders are focused on the golden setup.
Hmm.
That is going to set up probably 5 times, 6 times today. Again, it's very important to know how to trade it, when to step aside, because volatility, there is a point of diminishing returns. When your risk assessed with the setup, because a lot of this is just probability based,
Yep.
but when that risk is at risk, meaning when your stop is at risk of getting hit, and we have this really killer new GSI dashboard, this golden setup dashboard, and someone just said in the golden setup chat room, this thing has been red all morning. So it's been firing off a too volatile to trade signal so far. Some of the more experienced traders are probably, jumping in there, but this is what's going to keep us on the sidelines and protecting capital. And when the coast is clear, we're going to have trades to make.
Volatility's over 20. We've seen these types of days in the past. It's been a very calm, not really calm. It's just been an upward move for 4 months, right? For the S&P 500. What is it about? You said it's going to happen maybe 6 times today. What is the primary reason that those types of setups happen? Is it volatility or is it just the nature of equity markets in this type of environment?
It is volatility, but when it comes to the Nasdaq, when it comes to the NQ trades about a third of the volume that the S&P 500 futures trade. That aspect of the product is what makes it so mechanical. And so what I'm kind of looking for is multiple round trips through different 100-point tranches. I don't want to get too
Mhm.
technical here, and the 26 is within every single one of those. So,
Sure.
my
What is the 26? What is the 26?
so my strategy is based around retracements. So
Okay.
I've identified very key inflection points in the Nasdaq, in the NQ, and those are very simply put the big round level. So like the 25,000, that's a big round psychological level. And then the next level below that would be 24,900,
Okay.
right? And so you just split that down the middle, and there's a 29,000, or sorry, 24,950, right? So there's a 50 level and
Hmm.
a 0 level.
Hmm.
In between, there's our 26. So the 26 level acts as kind of this little retracement back down to it's like a 50% level if you're familiar with Fibonacci's. And
Hmm.
when we see a retracement halfway, back or down to the 50% level, we buy it. And
Okay.
that's all it really is, Garrett. It is just a retracement strategy from inflection points to a very specific entry with very specific risk, and we look for a reaction right away. And
I'm not a person who has ever traded futures, and I've done everything else in the world. I mean, I've traded corn, I've traded bonsai trees on like illiquid markets. What would your argument be to somebody like me who, again, I'm an active trader from 9:30 to 4 o'clock every day. I like lots of liquidity, I like movements, I like reversions. What would your argument be to, somebody like me to get up at 7 o'clock in the morning and trade with you from 7 o'clock to 9:30?
well, number one, you have a market to trade, and it is a perfect augmentation to what your core activities that you're doing. So a
Hmm.
lot of equities traders that have been, they've heard of futures, they've heard futures are scary. I
Hmm.
try to, with this non-emotional, very mechanical strategy, pull the emotion out of it, pull the fear out of that, right? And so, look, as you said, our futures market trades 23 hours a day. So you can get up early, and provided that we have this kind of volatility, you can actually sneak in what I call getting a day done, or a attainable goal that we look for every single day. You can get that done before the market even opens. And I'm assuming you're saying 7 o'clock East Coast time, right?
Yes, yes, yes.
So yeah. that when we have this kind of volatility, that can be sometimes the prime time to trade because when the market opens, we get this big rush of liquidity. All the retail stocks start to open and all the reactions from previous day, you name it, sell orders, buy orders, etc. So it gets extremely volatile in the first 30 minutes.
Yep.
But I love taking traders like yourself that have no experience whatsoever, teaching them this particular setup, and I'm talking about the golden setup, teaching this setup and watching the light bulb turn on
Sure.
because it is literally an automated situation, provided that you know how to trade it. And that's what I teach traders. It's very,
One,
very simple.
I've been here since March, and one of the things that I admire about you is that you have no idea what's going on in the world. And like I say that from I'm envious of that because I'm a journalist. Like I have to write about what's going on with Trump. I have to write about what's going on with OPEC and like the fear of the world, right? And the emotion of that noise makes it difficult to execute, makes it difficult to hit the bid. You're living within a chart. You're living within certain levels. And that's a completely different mindset. It's very Phil Jackson-esque. I'm going to put it that way. Like the idea that you can simply live within a that type of environment and not have to worry about the world around you, make money and be successful in the process.
Yep. And it honestly, look, it's a lot to do that.
Mhm.
Because obviously I look on Twitter, I follow a lot of traders. There's a lot of chatter on Twitter. I try to get a little sentiment reading and then put it away. But yes, it is focusing literally on the price action that we are looking at on our chart. And
Mhm.
that to me, again, let's just kind of reverse engineer this. So
Sure.
as a day trader, as an intraday trader, just the knee jerk. If I were to ask anybody on the street, hey, if you were a day trader, what would you be looking to do? Like, how much money are you looking to make every day? Because that's where our head is. And that number is always 500 to $1,000. If I
Mhm.
could do that every day, I could X, right?
Right.
And so it's about finding the product or the vehicle, in this case, the NASDAQ, that provides those opportunities to do just that. Sometimes it's one trade, right? So for us to just simply focus, laser focus on just one chart, learn
Mhm.
all of the little characteristics of the chart. Because look, we were just at all time highs. We're really not that far off of them now. And these are areas in the chart where the NASDAQ's never traded, that we
Mhm.
have no historical data whatsoever. But traders keep sending me emails like, how is this working up here? Why is the golden
Right.
setup working at 25,226? That's just insane.
Yeah.
It's just the way this thing trades. I've created this roadmap for traders, and it really, you have to have discipline, Garrett. You have to put those blinders on.
Yep.
You have to forget about the world outside and focus just on what is in front of you.
I want to get you out on this question. What are the skills for a person who is a traditional equity trader, equity options trader that are easily transferable to futures? And what's that like, hump that they got to get over that you educate people on?
Really, it's about getting out of your head because a lot of traders, equity traders, when you say futures contracts, they immediately think options. They think
Right, right,
decay, they think time. It's not like that.
right.
So the NQ and the ES are the primary vehicles that we trade in terms of, and those are symbols for the futures products. So the NQ being NASDAQ, the ES being the S&P 500. It's like trading an equity.
Hmm.
So you really are not kind of doing anything else. As long as you have a semblance of how candlesticks form around levels and how to read the very basic of price action, you can trade futures.
Hmm.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, everybody, do me a favor, check out the presentation that Tony put together. Tony's going to be back with us later today. Tony, I'm really interested in actually learning how to do this because I'm now up at 5:45 in the morning because my wife teaches. I need something to do from 7
Let's
o'clock
do
to
it.
8 o'clock, so I might be joining you soon. Thanks for
Love
your
it.
time today.
All right. Appreciate it.
All right, take care.
Trade them well, everybody.
All right, everybody. So again, we're going to throw this into the chat. Do me a favor, throw the link up. This is a terrible look for me. I'm not going to lie. I look like I am some sort of angelic figure, and that ain't me. Anyway, let's time to dive into Secret Agent Charlie. Where are you? There he is, my boy. Thank you very much. All right, we're going to dive into the runner. We did not have a good performance yesterday, and that's on us because Citigroup got slammed. Um, Banking sector out of nowhere. And I do want to address this because I think it's very difficult for um, it, this is the problem with with the prognostication of finance. I have been warning about the reserves. I've been warning about the loans. I've been dealing with this since post-COVID. You are constantly looking for the breakdown. I was 2 weeks early on this, unfortunately. I was trying to short the KRE back here. Here's where the actual problem was. So I'm 2 weeks early on this. Ugh. Citigroup bouncing back today. This is going to be a reversion day, everybody. And I want to point this out very simply, very subtly. It is October 17th. It is third Friday. This is why you need to have your Bollinger Bands out. You need to have volume weighted average price out. And I talked to my group yesterday, my NVIDIA team, and I said, guys, when this gets outside its third standard deviation band, when it falls outside the Bollinger Bands, it becomes a bid. We saw some pretty gnarly, awesome moves, 20, 30, 40% moves on in the money calls yesterday. Same thing is in play today. There's going to be some chop. We're going to pay attention to companies like Nvidia, Apple, Amazon. But honestly, the beauty of Third Friday and the reason that you have to be trading on Third Friday, I don't know why we don't stress this enough. Everything has an option that is expiring today. Everything, 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 except for, like some crappy little bank that has $10 million in equity. This is a very busy day for the S&P 500. The broker dealers are going to be in motion. The stocks that were beaten up yesterday are going to test key lines where open interest is high today. So we want to focus on reversions as they come. We want to focus on companies that are going to be focusing on earnings. We want to be as busy as we can on a day like today. These are the days to trade. These truly are the days to trade. And I don't say that with, to try to suck you in and say, "Hey, you got to be in the room today." No, no, no. This is one of the best days to trade. You get 12 of these a year. Take advantage of the volatility, take advantage of the action, and start with what's at the top of the list, KDP, Keurig Dr. Pepper. Okay, here's the thing. If this market is going to get beaten up as the way that I think a lot of us here at TheoTrade anticipate that it will, there's no shortage of bears. Gianni believes that we are going to rocket to the moon, and I admire that, and he sees the momentum for what it is. But Jeffrey Bierman believes that we are all going to end up in some sort of hellscape. Is that the right word? He's very bearish. Don's bearish. I'm perpetually bearish, but I'm constantly looking for these reversion moves. And remember, when things break down, where does money move? It goes into the defensives. So, what you saw back here in February, right? February 12th, 18th, 21st, liquidity sucked out of the market. And that big move down in April, money went into Keurig Dr. Pepper. Money went into consumer defensives. And this becomes an opportunity, especially with this 8 moving over the 20-day EMA. There is momentum for Keurig Dr. Pepper. Pretty simple trade here. I'm going to buy something that is in the money today, and I am going to trade this based on its 3-minute chart. I'm not going to go out to the 21st of November. I'm not going out to next Friday. Instead, what I am looking for is for action, liquidity, money flowing into names like this today. And what I am specifically looking for, and this is me giving away the great secret. I'm looking at some point for today, the adjusted 8-day moving average, EMA, to cross over the adjusted 20-day on the 3-minute chart. What does that matter? 24 minutes over 60. And what I'm specifically looking for is to buy whatever is in the money at that exact moment. I don't have a number for you right now. You have to be active. You have to be paying attention to this chart. And as you can see, a 27.50 move yesterday up to 27.73, it doesn't seem that significant unless you're trading a zero date option that expires today. 27 cents in the money can be a 27% return if you are buying at and in the money. That's the first one. Walmart's the second. Defensives. Once again, strength in this equity, strength in this market, strength in the movement into consumer defensives. We're going to get a reading at some point. If momentum goes negative, and I mean hard negative, particularly on the FANGs, Walmart is going to move higher. Keurig is going to move higher. Everything of the defensives is going to move higher. But same thing. It is a zero date day. We are looking for crossovers if they come. That's it. We don't have to be overly complex about this. What's weakening? Coinbase. Ugh. Well, again, this isn't that complicated. Bitcoin is continuing to weaken. People are pulling their money out. We're down 2% today. Same thing, though, guys. Options, Friday, third Friday, big day of volatility, big day of money flowing around. 8 on the 20. If you are a member of our NVIDIA 4D, I'm going to be in the chat from 9:30 until 12:30, specifically targeting these types of moves. Cracks above the 820, cracks below the 820. These are opportunities to use the strength of Third Friday that have more liquid options, tighter spreads to take advantage of not having to buy the individual stock, only focusing on up and down moves and staying within a very specific range to try to deliver 20%, 30% moves. That's like the honestly the worst case scenario when you get a solid breakout. The upside, we talked about our SPY move the other day off that move on Monday, that 310 went to $10 in 4.5 hours. These are the types of moves that are possible. Coinbase breaking down Pony, I don't know what that is. I don't even want to look it up. Sounds like a Chapel Roan thing. I'm out. DRS, one of my favorite stocks that there is, and it's breaking down. This is a stock to start to sell spreads upon. Look at the fact that this is moving toward oversold. RSI, MFI, something that I went deep into yesterday with our NVIDIA 4D group. The way that this is breaking down, the second that this MACD starts to even out, this is where I want to sell spreads. I want to be down at the 34, 32 level. I want to be buying this stock. I'm telling you right now, it might chop lower. It might move to 36. It might move to 34. But here is the true story behind this stock. Leonardo, as a defense company, as a company that is going to benefit from the continued, well, I hate to say it, weaponization and ongoing militarization of Europe, that's going to build. It's going to build. The defense contractors need to be in your wheelhouse right now. You need to be selling spreads to the downside, not just on Leonardo, but on Lockheed. Look at our Raytheon. Look at Boeing as well. The reality is things are heating up in Europe, and Leonardo is one of the best companies that there is. But if you want to wait on this, I get it. Wait for momentum to return. Wait for the 8 to move over the 20. Look for a momentum move like this. I prefer to try to take advantage of what the market is giving me. I want to buy this stock down at the 36, 34 level. Aerospace, defense, They're making bombs, everybody. Sphere. All right. There's a reason that the stock is breaking down, and the reason is that fish is not playing. Fish needs to just take over the sphere. Somebody invited me to go see a show there. I said, "Is it fish?" And they said, "No, it's the Eagles." I said, "I'm out. I don't want to see the Eagles at the sphere." It's one of the hardest places in the world to play. We are in the dead zone of entertainment right now, October and November. Sphere downside, buying the 60, selling the 55. Yes, looking for a move to the downside on Sphere. This is a great momentum stock, one of the best there actually is. It is one of those stocks that has very high short interest when it breaks above these key moving averages. As you can see, it becomes a buy. 40 took us to 65 without even touching the 20-day moving average for a better part of a month and a half. On top of that, things to watch. Don's going to be up in a moment to talk about volatility. Volatility's down this morning, but we are still above the 50-day moving average on the UVXY. There is a problem. I'm going to point that out right now. The Fed has said they're going to cull quantitative tightening, but that is not enough right now. The reserve system is under pressure. We are under $3 trillion in reserves. That sounds like a lot of money, but it's not in a banking system. Remember, global debt is $338 trillion. All of the money sloshing around to refinance that debt is only 185 trillion only. What does that tell us? $3 trillion in banking reserves, particularly for a world, a country that needs money to refinance existing debt, ain't going to pull it off. So, we have a move down 3%. Don's going to talk about vol. I'm telling you, this feels like a setup, a squeeze up, only to sell back into pressure. We see this very often in equity markets. Basically, what happens is you see these moves down, you see a squeeze up, funds sell back into pressure. And this is the chop. Markets don't go straight down. You see a process of lower highs and lower lows. You see short term squeezes. You see moves into oversold, RSI, MFI, a squeeze higher, up into the upper levels of strength, RSI, MFI over 50, and then it rolls back over because the funds are dumping. They're selling. They're selling back into strength. The purpose of a market is to sell. A movement back down to 654, I'm telling you, it's probably a 10% chance today. We could see very violent moves to the downside today. I encourage you to pay very close attention to the 3-minute chart today. If that red line cracks under that green line, 8-day under the 20, stay short until it moves back above that red line. Pretty simplistic. In addition, HYMC. This is a insider move. This is a gold play. This is Highcroft Mining Corporation. I'm not encouraging you to look up what they do, but this is insider buying from Eric Sprott. Eric Sprott is one of the best, if not the best, natural resource people that there is in the world. You can get away right now by looking out into November, December, or January, maybe even further, March, if you can get the liquidity and you can get it filled. Buy this, sell the 6, buy the 5. HYMC, the 6-5 put spread. Go out a while. Be encouraged and be opportunistic and be happy if you can buy a mining company like this. Eric Sprott is the head of PHYS, which is the Sprott Physical Gold Trust. This is where I put my money if I don't own physical gold. Pretty simple. All right, 3 minutes left. I got to be quick about this. I want to walk you through again. Bank stress resurface. Bank stress, big problem. Credit fear is growing. Zion got beaten up yesterday. Remember, same thing. Zion has options that expire today. Western Alliance has options that expire today. Watch the 820. Every ticker is in play in the banking sector or the regional space, including the KRE, the KBE, JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs. Everybody expires today. There is a problem with credit stress, no doubt about it. It just happened to be the last 2 days that all of Wall Street collectively threw their hands up and said, hey, there's a problem. Commercial real estate is a huge problem. It will be a problem over the next 18 months because all of that debt has to be refinanced. Regional banking earnings and guidance will be very critical. I don't think it's going to be good. I just have to say that. Gold's at a new record. No surprises here. You know that I am bullish as it gets on gold. I think we're going to hit 5,000 within the next 12 months. But that said, I was long at 2,100 and I've written about this extensively. The reality about this market, which is very hard for people to understand, is the fact that if you look at the bond market right now, the 10-year bond is under 4%. That's bullish. It's bullish. Collateral quality is improving. 2-year yields at 3.37. They're betting on the Fed cutting rates, but they're also betting on the end of quantitative tightening. Quantitative tightening, you get rid of that, it's more money in the system. Gold goes up, silver goes up, Bitcoin goes up, RGLD goes up, NEM goes up. If you missed the run, I continue to just tell you over and over again, you don't have to try to chase this stuff. You could sell spreads to the downside. And NEM is one of the rare companies that I will say that you might want to trade ahead of earnings, but you want to go down. You want to go all the way down to the 50-day moving average because, again, the implied volatility will crush. This is something that, because of the run that it has had, it could get smoked in earnings because people are just taking gains. So either make the trade now and look way down here, or wait until after earnings and then sell a spread. On top of that, you have two more stories that I will finish real quick. Risk off sentiment. Asian European markets fell on banking fears. Japan and China. China continues to pump. Japan is going to pump. China will not roll back its rare earth restrictions. That's going to keep all those names in all the rare earth materials in play. USAR, UAMY. I will tell you though, if you were in on the UAMY recommendation that we had after the executive bought the stock at 650, take some gains, please. Don't get greedy. The stock went from 650 when he bought it up to 20, and people are still holding it and asking me questions. Guys, this is all about momentum. Stuff squeezes, it moves higher, and then funds sell back into it. Your stop, if you made that, if you followed that, would be right back at the $10 level. But the reality is this, you got to take gains along the way. Finally, the dollar is under pressure. Remember, dollar weakness, gold higher, equities higher, yen higher, everything else. We are in a third Friday environment. Be very cautious in this day. Focus on volume weighted average price. Look for reversals. Follow the 8 and the 20 rotation and pay attention to what Don says at 9:30, particularly around volatility. This feels like a little bit of a trap. I'm not going to lie. I've seen this too many times. We started at 27.90. We're down today at 2.4%. I don't believe that volatility is over today. And I highly doubt that Don feels that way as well. All right, everybody. I hope you have a great day. We will send that over to you, DG Beaver. Thank you very much. I want to own. So, what was talking entry price of 36? Because of the, that would basically be oversold at that point. All right. That would be oversold. Secret Agent Charlie, I hope you're having a great day. Doji, good to see you as well. Tim, thank you. Everybody, as always, have a great day. Don's going to be up in a couple of minutes. He's going to throw some music on. He's not going to play virtual insanity. He's played it too many times recently. Just don't play the Eagles. Have a good day.